I'm your host, Donna Cates, and each week we'll dive into powerful stories, expert strategies, and practical tools to help you take charge of your financial future. Whether you're planning for retirement, navigating a divorce, or simply looking to build your wealth with confidence, this is your space to grow, learn, and thrive. Let's get started with today's podcast. Welcome, everybody. I'm excited to introduce you today to Christin Becker. She is the owner of Divorce Recovery Coach. And Christin, I'm so excited to have you as a guest today, and I'm eager to delve deep into your career journey now. So if you can share with our audience maybe about a 90-second overview of what it is that you do and why you got into it, that would be awesome.
Oh, Donna, thank you for having me. I am the owner of Divorce Recovery Coach, and I kind of landed it naturally through going through my own divorce process after 27 years of an unhealthy marriage. I find myself working with an attorney and going through the whole divorce process and spinning emotionally. And my attorney approached me and said, I don't know what you're doing, Christin, but you're very calm and facing this very difficult thing with your straight on. And I don't know how you're doing it, but we could really use your help in the office with our more emotional clients. And I just got overwhelmed because I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly my wheelhouse. So I learned some credentials, got educated in it, and found myself really noticing that my journey, my testimony was something that was actually going to be helping other women, and also got educated in the process. And I've been doing this ever since that. So 2.5 years now, and focus on the emotional journey of this journey that we're on when we don't expect it. 80% of the process of divorce is emotional, 10% is legal, and 10% is financial. And it's often the piece that's missing. So I'm really happy to be a part of it and helping women come out the other side thriving.
So much of what you say about your situation it so resonates with me, and I want to make sure that everybody is hearing the message. Number one, kudos to you because you went through that process that most of us find extremely emotional, volatile, all of the things, and we're not necessarily our best selves. But to me,
Right.
you got the best compliment from your divorce attorney, and they're not really known for giving compliments to their clients.
Right.
They're probably more litigious and combative and
Right.
stuff. But
Right.
the fact that they acknowledged how you kept calm,
Right.
through that whole process, and ladies, that's what I'm hoping that you'll hear is that I wrote it down when Kristen and I first met, and she kind of described that triangle of divorce
Yes.
and how we got 10% that's financial, 10% that's legal, and then the rest of it's emotional. I literally had to draw that out because I thought, yeah, I mean, I play a big role in helping with people with their financial part. Divorce
Right.
attorneys play, I mean, we have to have a divorce attorney to even get through the legal process.
Correct.
But unless we have handle on the emotional stuff, it's just going to be a hot mess. So I'm glad
Right.
that you got that feedback and that they were asking for that specific type of help, and that led you to creating this business. So
Yes. It's been really powerful. And that triangle that you mentioned, I think it's just often forgotten. And if you have a grip on that piece, you can make emotionally sound legal decisions and emotionally sound financial decisions. Otherwise, it can be costing you lots of money and you're spinning out of control with your attorney who might be willing to charge you at $4.50 an hour versus actually getting to the root of what needs to be done. So that's kind of where I come in. But thank you.
absolutely. No, that is really fabulous. And I would love for you to talk about your industry. And I'm thinking more,
Okay.
coaching, but
Right.
specifically in divorce coaching. Tell me what you see as the biggest problems in that industry right now, and how you're solving it.
There's a couple of things that I notice. I think for one, coaches can be a dime a dozen. And so understanding that a divorce coach is somebody that we've gone through a credentialed program. I chose a credentialed program. So I receive CE every 2 years in order to maintain my credentials. For me, that was very important because I would like referrals from attorneys and from financial professionals who have their own credentials. I also find that one of the big industry things would be that people don't know divorce coaches exist and that we're available to our clients. So my biggest obstacle is getting that word out and finding it through people like yourself and other programs. I'm part of networking programs with this local bar association. We are recognized by the bar association as a professional. It's just people who are going through this process, the first thing they think of is an attorney. And if they can learn that divorce coaches are available, we can help guide that process through their emotions for them. And I think that's honestly the biggest obstacle is the knowledge that we exist and understanding that we're credentialed in this role. We've taken classes all through the process of divorce and we stay in our lane. So we don't do the financials. We refer to someone like yourself, and we don't do the legal, but we can help them understand what pieces they need to know.
And the way you're overcoming or helping to overcome that, Christin, is your involvement in those different networking groups.
Yes.
In the, doing things like you're doing today, but having a social media presence, just
Right.
educating the community at large. So yeah, so help us spread the word, ladies. We don't
Right.
know what we don't know what we need to know until we're in it sometimes.
Right.
So this is the thing: is put the divorce coach is a solid profession and somebody that you will benefit from having on your divorce team. I truly believe that. So I would love for you to share a little bit with us about what makes you unique in the way that you're working with women that are, or if people who are going through this divorce process.
I think what makes me unique is I'm authentic with how I handle myself and present myself with my clients. I'm not afraid to share a little bit about my journey. When I work with my clients, it's not about my journey, but I think it's important for them to know that I've been there and that I've gone through hard things. And so I'm kind of, especially in the consult call, I share a lot more about that part so they get that I understand, been in their shoes, I've made mistakes, all of those things. And then secondly, I have the credentials to stand behind that. So I've learned I'm a part of all of these. I'm a part of a divorce support collective. I'm a part, which is professionals in this industry, such as yourself, mediators, other things. I'm a part of a divorce transition professionals, which is another group of networking with professionals. I'm a part of the San Luis local bar association. So I'm part of things that are very professional so I can continue my education on that to help refer my clients to people that can help and guide them. You said it just a second ago. You don't know what you need until you know you need it. And you can blindly just follow what your attorney is telling you, or you can take the steering wheel by and drive your divorce. And if you take that role by somebody feeding you to the right professionals, which is kind of what I find myself doing, that's my unique approach to it mostly, is helping them through this crazy storm that they didn't plan for. Nobody plans to get a divorce. You don't plan on that. You plan on your happy ending, but it happens. And how are you going to turn up in this process? And that's really what I try to help them do, is turn up with knowledge to give them more confidence and be a credible client.
And that's so empowering. And I hear another thing too is the fact that, if someone comes to you, whatever the referral source, but they discover that someone like you exists and they need your skill set. So you're working with them. What I love is that you even use the phrase that I use, stay in your lane. You say, oops, this is what I'm expert at. This is what I can help you with. But you also need this person, this person, this person. because again, people don't know. So thank you for acknowledging that you can't be all to everybody, but you
Right.
can, yeah, right. And that's what I value about the work that I do. I'm a connector, and I really want to make sure that I connect people with those professionals that are going to be the most helpful to them. So thank you
Absolutely.
for that for
Yeah.
sure. So
Yeah.
tell me, do you see any big changes in the industry? And I guess this would be both the coaching industry and maybe even just the way we're divorcing over the next 10, 15 years.
Well, I think the word is getting out. I think people are finding that you can take more ownership in your process. And there's something called alternative dispute resolution that is kind of picking up traction. And ADR is short for that. And basically, really focusing on how you can use this group of professionals and kind of stay out of the courtroom. It saves a lot of money. A lot of people think, like, why would I want to hire a coach if I have to have an attorney and then I have to have all these different things? I think if you take that ownership of, I'm going to get as much information as possible if this is what I'm going to do and prepare, then you really only need the attorney to be in your corner to make sure you're making the right decisions for yourself. You don't have to go into you can go into a mediation empowered because you have the financial data already. You already have thought through with someone like myself the different options of how that mediation could go and what you're willing to give up in order to get more over here. So you really work through a lot of that process. So I think that's kind of where it's leaning, is getting more of a team approach in the divorce and allowing that to happen. And attorneys are starting to come on board. I think they get afraid of, like, oh, I don't want to give it away. But we talked about staying in the lane. Attorneys are really, really good at their legal part. But if they don't have that financial data that you can provide them, sometimes they can't fight that piece because they don't have the data in front of them. And then having that emotional client show up in court who's like, oh, and making all the noises and that's a lie or whatever, you can't, that doesn't help them either. So I just think it's that team approach is kind of where it's all going a little bit more, and the alternative dispute resolution of people understanding it takes a team to keep it out of the courtroom.
And I think that that's going to be very important, that everybody embrace that team concept and that, collaborative effort, if not necessarily collaborative, at least the alternative dispute. Because I know here our court systems are still so inundated. I mean, they're making
Yes.
everybody go through mediation, not a
Yeah.
I want to mediate, but you have to do this because we want you to solve everything you can, so it doesn't have to go before the court system,
Correct.
right?
And truth be told, if you have to wait for a court date and you're like a longer term divorce, so you don't have kids involved, no custody, you don't have any domestic violence issues, getting your case on the calendar, you might have to wait 6 months to a year, and then something comes up and it's delayed again another 6 months to a year. By working with a team approach, you have more control over the dates and getting it done. And I really work with my clients about, is it worth that fight? And if it is, what are you giving up? What can you focus on? And all of those different things. So yeah, what you just said as far as the calendars and the court system, it's trying to avoid that whole piece would be amazing. And I'm not saying avoid an attorney, because you
Right.
can
Yeah.
settle outside with an attorney who is really good at not litigating, but also finding resolution. So I
Mhm.
think that's kind of where helping them find their right attorneys as well is good.
And it's even, I've heard the phrase the scorched earth, approach. So it's like we don't have to divorce in an ugly way. It doesn't have
Right,
to be that way.
right.
So and that's, to me, it's just, and it makes such a huge difference on the impact of children, even adult
Absolutely.
children, right? So yeah, so we gotta be smarter and better about how we do the process. And you're making a big difference in how we do that. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you, Donna. And actually, what you just said is one of the main passions of why I do what I do is the children are always watching. And so my passion comes, we have 4 kids and they're young adults. And how do you want them to say mom showed up in this process? So I think it's really important is teaching your kids how to do hard things, because hard things happen in life, and a divorce is hard, but so are other things that happen in life. And so I think it's important to have that in the back of your mind. And I really focus with my clients about teaching, focusing on taking the high road when you can, finding resolution when you can. And there will be times you're not going to be able to resolve. An example, my ex-husband walked out of mediation 3 different times because this one piece he didn't want to resolve. So, we had to litigate that piece, but we resolved every other piece of our divorce. And so I think that's what's important too, is if there's a part, some people you can't, it just happens to be their personality. That's okay. Focusing on how you are continuing to show up in spite of that is what's important.
Absolutely. And I have to say this too. I'm not a parent, number one, so full disclosure, but I'm amazed at the number of people that say, when I ask, well, what about your kids? When we're talking about divorce, they go, oh, well, they're adults. Like the adult children aren't going to be impacted. And of course
No,
they
they
are.
are.
They
They are.
certainly are. And we're always setting the example for our children,
Absolutely.
regardless of their ages. And that's
Absolutely.
important.
And I think it's important to remember that.
Absolutely. Okay, so now I want to shift and have you share with us what's the biggest challenge that you've experienced or faced to this point in your life, whether that's personal or professional, and how is it shaping how you're doing business today?
Well, that's a big one. So thank you for asking. I've recently gone through a medical journey that has been, I thought divorce was hard and I was still going through it. And I was diagnosed June 1st of last year with breast cancer. So that was huge. That was like, oh my gosh, what's this about? And I will say the parallels and the journeys are very similar. And the reason I say that is when I got that diagnosis, I was like, cancer's a big word. But the more knowledge I got about what kind of breast cancer I had, et cetera, I understood that 1 in 8 women are being diagnosed with it. 1 in 8 women are not dying from it. So I realized, all right, game on, I've got this. So similarly, my clients, myself, you see people going through divorce all the time. You see them getting to the other side, thriving and doing life. So the point I'm saying with that is when you go through hard things, I mentioned before, you understand, all right, I know I'm going to get through this. I just don't know how muddy it's going to get. And that's exactly how I took on my breast cancer story. And initially it was hard for me to even open up and share. I kind of felt like I had this scarlet letter of, oh my gosh, she's sick. I didn't want anyone to know. I was wearing wigs all the time. But I finally did come out, even in my networking groups, and started talking about it. Similarly to the divorce, didn't want to be identified as a divorcee. I'm not. That doesn't define me. It shapes who I am and the choices I'm making going forward. Similarly with the breast cancer, I keep showing up for myself. And yeah, it sucks sometimes. There's hard days. But for the most part, sharing it with my clients and showing them how to be your authentic self, and you can go through the emotions that you have to. It's like this U shape I go through. It can be a shorter U or a really longer U, and you can remain stuck. It's ultimately, you can have all the people in your corner that you want. It's ultimately up to you. You have to participate in your divorce. You have to participate in your health journey. If you're in bed, woe is me, this happened. How is that helping you? So once again, the kids are watching me overcome. And sorry for this, but my daughter says, Mom, you're a badass. Just rock it. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. But that's what I'm saying, is channeling that inner badass to get through the hard things. And so, yeah, it's a personal journey, but the two kind of have been working, and it's inspiring my clients. I'm like, oh, she's doing this. Okay, I can do this. And it's not really where I was going with it, but it's the truth. It's life throws us curveballs and we have to keep getting up. So thanks for asking.
No, you're very welcome. And I think, the thing to hear is that number one, we all have some badass in us. Sometimes we have to dig for it, but
Right.
when life calls on us, we gotta pull up our big girl britches and do what we need to do, right? And,
Absolutely.
and that's
Right.
we just have to show up for ourselves first, because if we can't show up for ourselves, who else is going to? So thank you
Correct.
for that.
Correct.
All
Yes.
right, here's another personal question. If you could have lunch with anybody, living or deceased, who would you choose and why?
Well, this one actually came up pretty easy for me because she's kind of a big podcaster right now and doing like the number one podcast in the world, I think. Mel Robbins, with the let them theory, because I feel like I had already been coaching my clients for a couple of years on controlling what you can control and letting go of what you can't. And then here comes Mel Robbins with this book called Let Them. And it's just everyone's posting about getting tattoos with let them, and it's just, you know what, we cannot, it doesn't matter if our ex has the big narcissist word or whatever, it doesn't matter what we label them. Can we control what is happening with them? Can we control what the court date is? Can we control how our children are going to come back from their co-parent's house or any of those things? No, let them behave how they are. What can you control? It's how you focus on things. So the fact that Mel Robbins is out there doing this and sharing and the traction this has gained, I would love to sit down and just, she's out there. I think she's speaking now on the topic and going out and doing shows and selling out audiences. And it would be amazing to meet her for coffee. So,
I could totally agree with that 100%. And that was we had that in our book clubs earlier this year. So
yes, isn't it great? I love it.
fabulous read.
Such a
Absolutely.
simple thing, but it's practicing it.
Hmm. And that's the key, is the practice. A lot of these things that we know, we just don't do them. So it's
Right,
getting it front of mind and then
right,
practicing it, even if you have to
right.
remind yourself, oops, there I go again, you know.
Well, and we're human. We
Right.
are human, so we will make mistakes. And I've even been reminded, for example, I received a text message from my ex-husband one time, and it was, I'm sitting in my own private space with my own boundaries, and I'm having an emotionally charged reaction of, oh my God, and crying. And I was reminded by a friend who said, why are you giving your power away? And I was like, that's my line. Okay, you're right. Thank you for that reminder. So that's what I'm saying. We can have those moments, but sometimes having reminders of like, wait a minute, does he deserve that power right now? He doesn't
Mhm.
even live here. I don't have to respond. Just let it go. So
Ooh. Yeah,
thank you.
I got goosebumps. I mean, because it's kind of like, okay, have your moment, but then you got to reel it back in,
Yep.
right? Oh,
Yep.
my goodness. Well, this has been a lovely conversation. I'm so grateful to have you as a guest today. If people are interested in working with you, learning more about your coaching
Mhm.
work, how do they reach out to you?
I have a website, and I think that would be the easiest way, divorcerecoverycoach.com. That way they have access to my email, my social media. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I do a little bit of TikTok videos here and there, which was really hard initially, but it's actually, it helps my audience see that I am my authentic self. And you just, so I would love to connect. I do a free consult call with all my clients and find out if we're a good fit and a good match. And when that consult call is booked, I typically ask an intake form to be filled out so we can maximize that call. And I can actually give some tools to help initially on that call as well. So divorcerecoverycoach.com would be the best way to reach out to me.
That's awesome. And I'm assuming, I don't want to assume, you can work with people throughout the U.S., correct?
Yes, yes. I have clients all over the country because I do virtual for the most part, Zoom. So, and I'm originally from Minnesota. So I have a bunch of clients in Minnesota, but I also have like a couple in North Carolina, Arkansas, Colorado, and a whole bunch where I'm from here in California. So
Mhm.
I do a Calendly link for my calendar and I ask for it, puts it in the right time zone. So it should work. And typically I put my calendar out there, but if for any reason a time doesn't work out, just send a message and I can add extra hours and make things work on weekends, because this is something I'm very passionate about, helping women through this process. So,
Well, and your passion comes through, and I'm so grateful to know you.
oh,
So
thank you, Donna.
thank you for
Yes.
being a guest today.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I hope today's conversation left you feeling inspired, informed, and ready to take the next step in your financial journey. Remember, building wealth isn't just about money, it's also about creating a life that aligns with your goals and values. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with the women in your life who deserve financial empowerment too. Until next time, stay confident, stay empowered, and keep building the life you desire.